Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
If I sound slightly muffled, it's because I'm under my bed in the fetal position. Good God. Good God. Of the two of us, it's my sister Susan that has always been the more chipper, happier soul and hopeful soul. So we better get her in here, or we're all going to be, committing mass suicide. Suze?
I'm a little better than you. I'm under the covers with my head under the pillow.
Yeah, I heard this I heard this strange sort of, it's hard to describe the sound, but when I woke up at an ungodly early hour this morning, a strange sort of whirring sound. I couldn't figure out what it was, and I'm still not sure, but I think it was the sound of the founding fathers spinning in their
graves.
Yeah, because make no mistake. I just want to say, and lest I be thought of, as a hysteric, we are witnessing what happened yesterday is the beginning of a full-on fascist collapse.
Overtaking. They're granting the executive and the complicit courts.
Yep.
Unprecedented rights.
I mean, what? How did they not read? How do you dare write?
Oh, they're originalists. They're all originalists.
Oh, that's not originalism. I mean, that's what
I mean. That's what I mean. They're hypocrites. When they want to take away women's rights, they're originalists. When they want to give undue power to the executive branch, then they're just rewriting the Constitution. They're making this up out of whole cloth.
Yeah. So I don't care what.
I mean, we're focusing on the fact that that President Biden now has the right to find that Donald Trump is a threat to security and order his immediate takeout and be covered fully by immunity.
Yeah, but you know what? That's actually not.
He's too honorable to do it.
No, and that's not quite the case, because what the court did, because somebody else said, oh, well, of course, Biden wouldn't do it, but the court just said Biden, in his official duties, he vowed in his oath to, protect the Constitution.
Yeah.
And so that's his core constitutional duty. So it would seem that, yes, the Supreme Court just gave him the nod to, take out, Trump, save us.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we already have generals that have just told us that. I mean, we know that he's, stealing state secrets. We know that during his presidency, he had a mouth on him that was giving away state secrets, and other states' secrets, such that other states no longer wanted to share any information with us because it fell right out of his mouth into waiting hands. There's all sorts of reasons to take him out.
The problem, and somebody pointed this out, this decision has so many permutations and little loopholes and things going on.
There. It has to be absolutely within the scope of his presidency, which I say this is. Then there's
ultimately, Susan, it's the court. They gave themselves unbelievable power.
The power to decide.
That's whether it's an official duty. Right. So Susan,
you're absolutely right.
Let me just say so Biden cannot assassinate Trump, because this court will find that was not an official duty. They are the arbiter.
Well, he'd have to be willing to sacrifice himself on the funeral pyre of their kind of justice. No, I agree. They wrote this ridiculous decision, as they did, and they're basically the same decisions. What he did to corporate, to the agencies, and what he did to
all of
in this thing is they bestowed all power in the courts. Which, don't have the time to make any of these, they're already overloaded. And now every time any agency wants to find a corporation, or
ain't gonna happen.
Corporation not in accordance with their regulations, they have to take them to court. When before they could go, we find that you are just this. Take judicial notice of the fact that you're spewing raw sewage into the river, and we're fining you $100,000. I mean,
Susan. So wait. Again, back to these sons of bitches saying they're originalists. That is the Chevron doctrine that it has been a precedent for ages, and they just tossed it out. It is the most
they just blew through another precedent.
Court. There is also these are the fundamentalist types. I wonder what we have to know what George Washington had for dinner before we can decide this.
Well, I just want to say.
Let me just say,
there's a whole course in law school called administrative law, which by this ruling no longer exists.
It doesn't even exist.
What you do is learn how to study regulations and how they're done and blah, 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 blah. Well, no, they're all gone.
They're gone. But I want to stay.
Because agencies don't have any rights.
Before we get in, because what this court has done this week is mind-blowing. What it did yesterday does actually presage the end of this experiment in democracy. Unless.
Wait. Okay.
Unless.
Okay. Asterisk.
Unless.
Okay. Yes.
We show up at the polls in such numbers and willing then to withstand the thugs and the attacks and the brown shirts that will come and try to take it all away. There is no historical precedent. There is no legal precedent for this decision. Good God, everything we ever learned about the Declaration of Independence. What was that? It was a litany of complaint against a king. A king. We didn't want a king. The framers were terrified that the executive would be too strong. Well, the so-called originalist.
No, so you're right. So they have now set the stage. The executive is strong, and the courts will prop him up.
That's right. And the regulatory, but Susan, I mean, what I'm also thinking of Richard Nixon. Now, Richard Nixon, who famously said in that interview with David Frost, "When the president does it, it's not a crime." We all laughed. That was considered one of the funniest gotcha moments ever. And now, John Roberts.
And it turns out he was right.
Now he's right. He wasn't right then, but he's right now. When the president does it, it's not a crime. I want to remind.
So, but I just want to underline what you just said, because it just sort of slips under the door. And I am praying that this week amounts to the same kind of wake-up call to the general public that the overturning of Roe v. Wade had. It is a clarion call, and it is a reminder to each of us that whatever our individual causes are, however we feel about each of the divisive issues in our country now, none of that matters. What matters is to save the democracy, at which point we can go back and litigate our sides of each of our individual issues. But if we don't do that, we won't have any basis for litigating any of our rights. They will all be gone. So this becomes more clear every day. You
okay, I hope,
go
Susan,
to the polls in great numbers and you vote straight D. That's it.
Yeah,
I don't care who's running for president. I don't care who's standing by his or her side as vice president. As long as they aren't Trump and they're on the Democratic ticket, that's who I'm voting for. Because our only hope is to get enough people in Congress that we reactivate our moribund Congress so it can pass some legislation to shore up our quaking Constitution.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
And put this court back in its place.
Problem, Susan. Even if we were to take the Congress, even if we were to play hardball for the first time, even if we were to use those legislative powers and pass legislation, and the president signs off on it, it will go to this Supreme Court that will declare all these laws unconstitutional. Here's the problem. This court has got to be dismantled. It has got to be dismantled.
I'm there with you. This is the only time in my life that you're going to hear me advocating for term limits. Period. We can't be subjected to the whims of biology and the holder of a long life to be holding us thus hostage. I mean, really.
They have put themselves as the final arbiters of everything. Everything. They have taken.
They're God. Make no mistake. They have appointed themselves God.
Yep.
They have told women that they have no rights in this country, that they can die because they said so.
I want to remind people of some things that were said not too long ago. At his confirmation hearing, Samuel Alito.
Yeah, right.
This is what he said. There is nothing that is more important for our republic than the rule of law. No person in this country, no matter how high or powerful, is above the law. 2018, Brett Kavanaugh. No one's above the law in the U.S. That's a foundational principle. We're all equal before the law. The foundation of our Constitution was that the presidency would not be a monarchy. The president is not above the law.
Well, but we all know that he held himself above the law.
Yeah. But listen, I see that AOC wants to start impeachment hearings against the court, members of this court, which I think is fine and dandy, but they do deserve impeachment. Certainly Alito and Thomas deserve to be impeached.
Yeah.
The problem is until we show up and make sure that the Senate, we're just going to try to hold on to the Senate this time around. These guys have played hardball, the long game, for a long, long time, and they are on the precipice of victory. And that victory is
and now we're fighting. We have to fight too. We are David overcoming a Goliath machine, even though the numbers are in reverse. And that's all we have in our favor. There's more of us than there are of them, and we have to show up in all the right places and vote. I don't know how many other ways to say it, and it's the only thing that I can say that makes me feel it all better is that ultimately we still have the control. And I have a firm belief that there are more people of good heart that believe like I do, that they are proud of this vision of America that we grew up with. That's foundational to each of us. It's one of the few things that you absolutely know about yourself if you're born in this country. I am an American. And it was meaningful. And if that's not something that each of us wants to get up and fight for, and even if the only thing we do to fight is show up at the polls, I can't imagine what is. This is one of the 2 feet you stand on. You're an American. Save it, preserve it, because who the fuck are you going to be?
Not disagreeing in any way. I give you Robert Reich. I want to try to reassure you. Donald Trump is, I think he wrote this though before, he wrote this because of the debate. I don't know if he's still saying this.
Right.
But he's
well,
saying
none of us are talking about it.
Here's what he's saying. I have an abiding faith. It's what you have said. I have an abiding faith in the common sense and good-heartedness of most Americans. And although we're horribly divided right now, the fact is, again and again, we have rejected vicious haters and demagogues. Father Coughlin, Joe McCarthy, George Wallace. We've made a few bad mistakes in our choices of president, to be sure, but we've corrected them as soon as we could. We elected Nixon, but sent him packing. We elected Trump, although more Americans voted for his opponent, and we did not re-elect Trump in 2020. And he says that when I think about what's good about this country, I also think about the jurors and prosecutors and the judge in Trump's recent trial in Manhattan. By the way, they're trying to get that thrown out now, who took extraordinary abuse. Sure. Their lives and the lives of their families were threatened, but they didn't flinch. They did their duty. I think about our armed servicemen and women. I think about our firefighters, police officers. I think about our teachers and social workers and our nurses. I think about all the other people who are putting in countless hours in our cities and towns and states to make our lives better. And all the people who are working their hearts out right now to make sure Donald Trump stays out of the White House. So we've, gotta hope.
Okay. By the way, you just threw that out there, that they're trying to throw that out. Sorry. That is a fraud case. Yes, it's an election case, but he was not president then. So there is no immunity to attach. He was running for president then. It was his first run. This case does not apply to A, a state case, and B, which is based on fraud and election fraud. He wasn't president. Sorry. He's convicted. They can do whatever they want. This decision has nothing to do with that.
Everything will make its way back to his pals on the court.
No.
Dan Rather, who I don't think of as histrionic, wrote The American Ideal, that no person is above the law, died today. The Supreme Court killed it. And the idea of an independent judiciary took a big hit, too. At one point in that incredibly unbelievable decision, all of which I have not read because I don't have the stomach for it, but Roberts,
I can't make it through.
Roberts suggests that the president has to be immune Otherwise, he might, out of fear of being held accountable, not take the bold actions that are required.
Might not order a hit on Osama bin Laden,
Yeah,
for
whatever.
example.
Yeah, whatever. And I'm thinking, wait, now he came up, that's made up out of whole cloth. No president in this country's history has had a problem exercise.
Has ever not taken a needed action like that.
No.
An order to drop a bomb, for example, that killed tens of thousands of people.
Yeah. Exactly.
No.
So
why do you need to protect something that they're making shit up that is tailored for this case?
And I want to say, if you do want to read,
the exact opposite of what they're supposed to be doing.
If you want to read something that is unbelievable, it's Sotomayor's Dissent.
Yeah, I know.
It is impassioned, and it is just suffused with rage and fear. She says that the decision...
Well, it explains...
Yeah, the decision makes a mockery of the principle foundational to our Constitution and system of government that no man is above the law. She says, the President of the United States is the most powerful person in the country, possibly the world. When he uses his official powers in any way under the majority's reasoning, he now will be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? Immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power? Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon? Immune. Immune, immune, immune.
Does this mean, well, let's take this, so does that mean there's no way to ever impeach a president?
It sort of sounds like it would be a bit difficult, yes. They have...
Well, but it explains why Sotomayor said that she goes into her office in the morning sometimes and just cries.
Yeah. And all these dissents always end with respectfully, blah, blah, blah. And hers ended with fear for our democracy. I dissent.
Mm-hmm. Well, she has no respect for them. I applaud her.
Beyond belief. Even that Thomas and Alito did not recuse themselves in this case. A just incredible sign of the corruption of this court. It is extraordinary.
No, it really stinks. It just stinks. And when I think about what we complained about in the past with the court, what naive fools we were, and how unimaginative, their forays into being, not entirely correct. These guys are just, to me, it's just shocking. It's like, it's how I felt about Trump. Doesn't he have any? How could it? And these guys are just the same. They're totally shameless in their arrogance as they plod over the underpinnings of our nation. As they destroy our nation, they are just sure that they have the power to do it. And I don't think they give a damn about whether it's the right thing to do. This is the look of people reveling in power.
Yep. They want it. They got it. And I have to.
Next come the Napoleon, the banquets with the goblets and the dancing girls.
Milton writes, this court will install Trump as president. Yesterday's decision was so aberrant and so bold, it could only have been made by a court that has already predetermined that they will, in the near future, enjoy the support and protection of the executive branch. All it will take is one case in the upcoming election that reaches the court for them to declare the entire election void, and they will install Trump in the White House. They can do it. They have proven that they're willing to do it, and I believe they've already got a plan to do it. Yesterday's ruling was made and announced with the hubris of a group of justices confident in the fact that it is they and like-minded minions who will write the history of this transformative time. Well, any kind,
But if that happens, Milton, you just wrote the scenario where this girl takes to the barricades.
Yeah.
And I think there'll be a lot of people with me. If they overthrow a free and fair election, if they throw out my vote, they've already taken my body. If they take my vote, I got nothing else to lose.
I have to tell you, though.
I have
to tell you something. Their side has all the guns.
Well, I know. With bump stocks. We haven't even talked about that one.
I don't know. So, I was thinking, this is what
hard to be cheering.
Wait, this is what the Federalist Society has been, again, the long game, what these guys have been working toward for so long. It's the corporatists. So this is now a country, not of the people, by the people, and for the people. Quite clearly, it is a party of the corporations, for the corporations, and truly by.
Oh, but we fixed that long time ago. Corporations are people. So we're still of the people, by the people, for the people. But those big things that band together and sell stock, those guys are the ones with the
this
power.
court is only about protecting property, protecting capital, and they don't give
making sure it doesn't get taxed.
Damn about the people. Okay, so I just want to say this court, this supposedly only calling balls and strikes a court, the devastation of what it has done in its decisions in the last few, this throwing out the Chevron doctrine is literally, it's already having huge impact. The government will be unable to do anything
to govern because they can't regulate.
They will not be able to regulate.
They have to go to court.
Right. So and you see what happens when you go to court.
No precedent.
If you
win, it goes up to the Supreme Court and gets thrown out because precedent doesn't matter.
So so our heir, at a time when we're so concerned about environment, give it up. All these environmental rules will come down. Your water ain't going to be as good. Your air is not.
Well, they all have to be relitigated.
Your cars will not be as safe. But it all ends up ultimately in front of this court.
Right. It all has to be relitigated and can go appealing all the way up to the court, all of which, as you see, takes time. I mean, they are just playing the system while they kill us all. And here's what I don't understand. Folks, if you kill us all, who are your consumers from whom you take all of their money? It's a short side. This is the only way they aren't playing the long game.
You know what we haven't talked about? Their ruling saying that the January 6th rioters were not technically trying to obstruct an official proceeding, which is exactly what they were doing.
Only because they didn't know what that meant.
No, because they actually said in their ruling The law applies to anyone who alters, destroys, mutilates, or conceals a record, a document, or an object. They totally disregarded that it also talks about what in fact
preventing a vote.
Yeah, exactly, which was a official proceeding. They were attempting to stop an official proceeding. Hey, by the way, one of the things their ruling yesterday shows is that Trump threatening his vice president, no problem. If Pence had been hung, no problem. No problem. Anything he did on
No, he can do
January
whatever
6th.
he wants as long as he's sitting in the president, and it's somehow. I don't understand how you then decide what is automatically immune. There's still this gray area. What is presumed, but is not automatically, which means you can litigate it, immune, and what is personal and not immune.
Here's the day that they destroyed the Chevron doctrine. Imagine this sentence being written about this so-called, very conservative court with its, trying to figure out what the founding fathers would do. The Supreme Court on Friday reduced the power of executive agencies by sweeping aside a long-standing legal precedent. They just threw it out, as they did with Roe. Throw it out. This idea that once a law is there and is used as precedent in hundreds upon hundreds of other decisions, and they just said all of those justices before us were wrong.
Fools!
There have been 70 Supreme Court decisions that relied on that Chevron doctrine, and they'll now all be thrown up. It's mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. And I also want to point out that with this, we are witnessing the extraordinary, at this point, apparent triumph of fascism in the United States.
In France.
No, in the United States.
Yes.
And I do, yes, want to look at a larger picture. It could well be, yes, that France is about to turn far right. The Netherlands yesterday, people think of the Netherlands as like a liberal kind of place because, because
like Switzerland, yeah.
Because the prostitutes are like right there and the pot is right there. The Netherlands swore in its first far right government yesterday. So, yeah. And then there's the one that is just so brutal. It's the one about the homeless.
Oh, now it's a crime to be without a home.
It is.
What are you supposed to do at night? Find a place to hide?
Apparently, yes. It's not enough.
I guess that's, yeah.
It's not enough that you have no place to sleep, but you will be, what are they supposed to do?
And then we prefer empty buildings and empty downtowns to allowing people inside to sleep where they might have like a toilet and something. Never know. No.
This is
We're Christians. We're good Christians, and those people are not our problem.
The criminalization of desperation, the criminalization of simply trying to survive. And the interesting thing is it comes out of, this town in Oregon, I think, Grants Pass. And the court found that Grants Pass is just fine in jailing or fining anybody who sleeps, I guess, in a public place.
Well, you know what? If they jail them, then they're housing them. And guess what's going to find? They're going to find out. This is not the. We can't afford to put all these people and house them and feed them.
Well, you know what this shows?
It's a real short-sighted sort of thing, and you can find them, but what's the saying? You can't get, blood from stone, water from stone, or whatever that is.
Wait, I thought it was a turnip.
No, yeah, turnip.
You can't get what from stone? Water? Blood from a turnip?
Water?
Or is it blood from stone? I don't think it's blood from a stone.
I have no idea.
So I just want to point something out.
But anyway,
why we
what
make
do? You throw them in jail? It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense.
This says something about us. This is our refusal as a people, supposedly living in the richest country in the world, to be unable to house people. The housing crisis in this country threatens...
We are not unable. We are unwilling.
Exactly right. The housing crisis threatens so many people. So many people are one ER visit away from ending up on the street. One lost job. Some of these homeless people are working 2 and 3 jobs. And I saw something that just blew me away. If you look at the population of shelters, homeless shelters in New York City, people 65 years and older are quickly becoming the largest population.
Yeah. The elderly can't afford...
No,
rent.
cannot. The number of elderly in the shelter system there has grown nearly 3 times as quickly as the number of younger people. And
it's also inaccurate to assume that all the homeless are jobless. They aren't.
They aren't jobless. It
doesn't mean they can.
And they're not mentally ill, and they're not necessarily druggies. No, there
is no available affordable housing. And a lot of that is because, to get back to a conversation a few minutes ago, that large corporations and hedge funds are buying up all these affordable starter homes, doing 2 things: driving up the cost, taking them off the market, and then they're renting them back at unaffordable prices. And they aren't maintaining them or doing anything. So they're also just, leeching off the assets and destroying them. Right. It's really, this is funny. There ought to be a law.
There are over 300,000 old New Yorkers on waiting lists for affordable apartments that are reserved for elderly people in distress. The typical wait is 6 to 7 years. If you're 75 years old, you don't have 6 or 7 years to wait to get out of that homeless shelter.
Well, and then there's we aren't even paying attention to the elderly that aren't homeless but are stuck in uninhabitable homes that are owned by more of these hedge funds, these large apartment complexes that are, they're leaks that are infested, and trying to get out of them is very difficult. And this is all one person I know, slipping on her untended front steps and shattering her ankle, and trying to get the landlord to help her pay for her medical expenses, she found that in Missouri, in your lease, you can't sue. In order to get the apartment, you have to agree to not sue the tenant for any injury caused on the premises.
Not sue the tenant, sue the landlord. Yeah, for not.
Sue the landlord.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that little fine print.
In order to live in this rat-infested place, you had to give up your right to sue the landlord, your rights as a citizen of the country to sue the landlord for the privilege of living this way. Yeah, it took her 6 years to get into senior living housing.
Yeah, we are, anyway. Chuck writes, 2 remedies available are 1, dissolving the court, or 2, expanding the court. Unfortunately, yeah, you need Congress for either of those.
Yeah, we need a functional Congress.
Yeah, so if you think you'll sit out this upcoming election because you can't get excited about the candidates, or if you're casting a protest vote for RFK Jr., get your head out of your ass and get down to your voting center for Christ's sake, writes Chuck.
I was checking out at the grocery store yesterday and ended up in conversation with the cashier, and we ended up with giving her a speech and telling her to vote and get all of her friends to vote, and she said, "Yeah, we're going to do it." But that's what I'm going to get everybody as riled up as I can and remind them that they have to vote, and they can't do any of this third party crap. You've got to choose. I mean, and if you're going to do the third party crap, just stay home or admit you're voting for Trump. What you need to do is vote D, period.
It's the only possible save we've got. Don't know. Have you seen, by the way, Milton has said, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. That is the...
There you go. There was everyone but the right one.
Oh, didn't I say blood from a turnip?
Maybe, but we immediately dismissed it.
No, I don't think so. I just wasn't sure of it. I mean, and obviously Milton says, in case you don't understand what that means, you can't get something out of someone who simply doesn't have it to give.
No, well, that's why I said it in the first place.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So, also, I hate to say this, but Trump has, can you imagine how full of himself he is right now? And his people now, his base, they know they've got this one. They got the court. They know he's not going to do time. They got, Biden's performance. So they think they've got it in the bag. Now, if and when the votes come in and they haven't won, they will literally not believe it. They will again believe.
Well, they weren't going to believe it anyway. They've already been set up. This is like saying Trump voters are going to, vote for Trump. That is how they behave. And we know that. And if we aren't prepared for them doing the whole thing and maybe getting even violent this time and more violent, then,
it's easy to say, but that is what's going to happen.
That's a given.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly. And I don't think
it's going to be ugly.
We don't understand how ugly. We don't understand how ugly.
Well, I think it's time for us all to stop being naive. And when we're picturing worst case scenarios, we need to be prepared for the worst case scenario. And I'm still going to be, my old, because I'm chemically incapable of being anything else, hopeful individual. That's who I am. But it doesn't mean that I can't be clear-eyed about the worst case scenario and be prepared for it. Expect it. Because those low lives know no low.
No. Isn't it scenario?
Did I say scenario?
Yeah, I don't know if they're probably both okay, but scenario. Scenario seems, I don't know. But every time you said it, I thought scenario. It might be.
Well, I don't know. It just came out the way I say it.
I know. So Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
Liz Cheney better up her. Did you see the list? And Trump posted this, the list of people who they are going to go after the minute he's back in office. It does include.
What's he going to do to Liz?
He's going to
parade her through the streets naked.
He's going to have he wants her tried in a military tribunal for treason. Susan, why are you laughing? This is what they're going to do. He wants to do the same to Pence. He wants to do the same to everybody on that January 6th committee. He also has on the list Mitch McConnell, who has endorsed him. I've been thinking, why we are frightened. I can't imagine how our allies and the people in allied countries and even unallied countries who always appreciated.
Oh, no, they must be sick to their stomachs because they got nothing. They can't even vote.
No. They don't have a vote. And soon enough, we might not. Oh, dear. Yeah, it's really something. So that's,
Well, really, everybody in this country who is a thinking person should be feeling the way women felt when they overturned Roe. Because what this decision did to us now is it just took away our right to the government that we were promised by our Constitution.
Yeah.
We were promised that no one was above the law. That wasn't just a cute little adage. That was the truth. And while we all understood that a president certainly had the right to make certain decisions and certain acts to protect the country and protect the world, that didn't mean that he was immune from doing gross malfeasance, which anyone under the law would be punished for. It didn't mean that. So they've fundamentally taken away our right to the kind of government we've been promised since day one. They just took it away from all of us. We all now have lost the right to the government we were promised. If that doesn't get you out of your chair, I don't know what will.
The thing is, though, that I keep coming back to is even if we are with our votes, we have no vote for the Supreme Court. Even if we were by our votes to
then we have to figure out how to deal with this damage.
Then we have to somehow get at that court. We've got to get at them. And I really do. I think they should take them out. You can take out Thomas Gorsuch. Gorsuch. Remember when Gorsuch said during the oral arguments for this? I think it was Gorsuch, that it's going to take time for us because we need to write a decision for the ages. Remember that?
Yeah, right.
Well,
yeah, I do.
They were going to, turn everything upside down. Those oral arguments made anybody listening queasy. And you sat there in disbelief, seeing that they were going to try to give some measure of immunity. That's not surprising. But to go as far as they went, unbelievable. What they did is Trump could now order his hand-picked. the idea that the Justice Department has this, it's sort of like in a newspaper, the editorial function is separate from the opinion section, right? There's that wall, or like church and state. The idea was that the Justice Department, that the president did not interfere with his attorney general. And Roberts' decision makes perfectly clear that they think
that he can interfere, that
it's his
Justice
job,
Department.
that in fact is his job.
Yeah, no, when I read that part, I went, what?
No, yeah, what? Talk about...
No, the Justice Department is a separate... Well, no, it's separation of powers. The judicial branch, of which the Justice Department is one, is separate from the executive branch.
Okay, but so just let's be clear about, we've said, so he can assassinate somebody, and in fact, yes, he can. He can order his FBI director to arrest and jail anybody. His political opponents. Liz Cheney. If he gets back in, he will go after her and these others. He can order the IRS to put liens on the property of, let's say, a media company that is criticizing him. He can jail reporters, jail editors. They have set up the exact plan that they've given him everything he needs to be a dictator on day one. He could order the assassination of anybody. And there was a retired general who was saying, I'm trying to figure out how a commander can refuse an illegal order from someone who is issuing it as an official act. So remember how we used to comfort ourselves by saying, well, the generals, the military would not follow orders from a deranged president.
Right. Well, now they gotta.
And according to this court, a president could literally provide Putin with intelligence so he can quickly dispatch Ukraine. He could even, or allowing him to attack or even invade us. And he could then not be prosecuted for treason because, talking to other heads of state is a definite constitutional function it's an official function of being president. The classified documents case now, they blew it up.
Yep. Every little thing has to be litigated to see if it can still be in there.
Unbelievable.
But the interesting thing about all of that is that in order to litigate what goes into it, a lot of information will come out, even if it's eventually thrown out. In the litigation thereof, it will all come out and serve its own purpose in that way.
Hey, Robert asks, and this is a possibility, but again, he wouldn't do it. So if this makes the president king, then Biden needs to start acting like one. Can't he, by executive order, expand the court immediately? Why not?
Why not?
Expand the court by 3, put 3 people on it, and take the majority away.
Yeah, but then someone will say he doesn't have the authority. It'll go to this Supreme Court, and they'll say, nah, you don't have the authority. But we could keep him busy. Maybe that's what he should do. Just keep doing stuff like this and let him litigate it. But in the meantime...
That decision yesterday
Are you there?
destroyed. I'm
Yeah,
here.
okay.
I am just. I'm going to echo what you said. That they destroyed the very principle on which this nation was founded.
Yep.
That is what that court did.
Right. This is not an overstatement. It is not an exaggeration. And this is what I'm saying to people.
You know what, Susan? I mean, you were saying...
Stand up and fight for your country.
Yeah, you were saying that this should have like the kind of reverberation that, overthrowing Roe had. I think it's more than that. I think that what happened yesterday is akin to 9/11.
Well, it should be a battle cry. You're right. It should galvanize us as a nation.
It was an attack from within.
On the very
like every
fabric
horror
of our country, yes.
Like every horror story, right? I mean, the call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
We have this corrupted government now. And I want to point something else out. The name of this case, this 9/11 of a case, is Donald J. Trump versus United States of America.
Yeah. And that's the truth.
And Donald J. Trump won.
Stand up, America.
It's a nightmare. And I got to tell you, we got to stop bringing knives to these gunfights.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, we brought some exquisite minds, but if
knives.
I know you said knives. I'm saying
they play to win, and we don't. We don't have their.
Well, they rigged the game.
Well, we're always
we have ethics.
Yeah. Oh, well,
damn
listen.
Ethics.
So if we're going to play by the Queensberry rules, and the other guy ain't, then we're going down.
Well, but this is what I'm saying. Then I would like everybody to remember that while you're clutching your pearls about the damn debate that scared everybody so much, that you're allowing a guy that refused to answer a question and lied through when he did answer, you're declaring him the winner. Yep. And I don't understand why you don't disqualify him. And why nobody has gone back and disqualified him. And may I please direct our attention to him, because he's the enemy, not Biden. He's the enemy. Focus your damn attention on the enemy and vanquish him, for crying out loud.
Okay. Dear God in heaven. Suze?
Yeah, did I cheer you up?
No.
I'm going to go get bakery.
Well, yeah. I did not sleep again last night. I mean, this is literally harming my health.
No, I'm beginning to loathe the telephone, because for some damn reason people call me and for reassurance, like I know anything. And it's beginning to wear on me. But so I'm keeping what I call my headlights on low beam in real life. I've got one job to do. I've already told you what it is. I intend to do it as soon as possible. I urge you all to do the same. And then I'm going to go about my personal life and try and protect my own mental health. And I advise you all to do the same too. And again, if you're feeling like I got to do something, please volunteer for all your downstate races. Do whatever you can. We need to win this thing up ballot and down ballot. And if I get only one of you out there to act on your fears, please do it. It'll make you feel better. We need the help.
Well said, Suze. Thank you. I want to say Susan will not. I am taking a mental health break starting July 4. So tomorrow will be my last show for a little while. I'm not sure. I might be back in a week, or I don't know. You'll just have to hang with me, okay? Because I need to.
It depends on whether she can stand that screaming.
Oh no, I don't know.
I know you really do.
I don't know if I'm capable.
Understand it.
I don't know if I'm capable of tuning out. And I don't even know if that's what I need
understand that that's what you're worried about. I advise you. I petition you. I respectfully submit to you that you really need to. I do. We all do. So low head beams for a while, at least for a portion of every day, guys. Focus on what you got to be grateful for while you've got it and while you can still be grateful. You know, I got family coming to visit, so I'm going to go and prepare, and I'm going to be grateful.
Yeah. Have fun.
Especially when our brother gets here alive.
God almighty. Oh, God. God help us. We've got this old brother who drives long distances on a huge motorcycle without
on a
a
900-pound motorcycle, which if it
one
tips over,
eye.
He's too frail to pick up.
I just blowing my mind. I hope, is he coming in today? Please let me know when he gets there alive.
I'll let you know. He just left.
Dear God. So. Anybody in between Ann Arbor and Chicago, watch out. Okay.
See, the low beams are no more comforting than the high beams.
And Bree is saying we need 54 more subscribers. Susan, do you subscribe? Subscribe to the damn show and get your family to subscribe. Let's get this up to 1,000.
Oh, on YouTube, you mean?
Yes.
On YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'll subscribe.
Please, okay. And get put out an email, will you? And get people to do that.
Okay.
So Bree will get off my back because he's been on it.
Okay.
I'm serious about that. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you.
I didn't know it was a thing. Okay.
It is. Oh, no, it's a definite thing. Okay. Bye.
Okay.
Suze.
Subscribe.
Bye.
Tell all of your friends to subscribe. Lynn Cullen Live on YouTube. Okay.
Put that on your Facebook page. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. I love giving Susan work to do, like she doesn't have enough to do. Anyway, guys, thank you all. I'm hanging here by a thread. I'll be back tomorrow, though. Don't have any idea what we'll be talking about since everything seems to pale now when we're in this fight for our very lives. Hey, have a good day. Oh, I just blew the ending. Hang on. I'm trying. I am. I'm trying.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.